notice an error on your minutes.
Good evening. It's 6:17. I'm going to open up the conservation meeting for June 23rd, 2021. First is members that are in attendance. State your name for the record. James Kepke.
Samantha Costello.
George Slingo.
Bob Tuttle.
Fran Mikolajic.
And our wetland consultant, Matt Morrow, is here also. First on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability for a 4-day road. Is anybody present for that?
Yes.
Come on down.
Is it over here?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Paul DeVries, and I'm with McClure Engineering, and we are representing Paul Fournier, a 4-day road for a proposed subsurface sewage system repair. This work will entail the abandonment of an existing cesspool and the replacement with the construction of a new system that will meet Title V regulations. There are some bordering vegetated wetlands associated with the site. One is to the north, one is to the east. And across the road, there is a perennial stream of which the work will take place within 200-foot riverfront area. The work is actually going to be down gradient of the riverfront area. We are proposing to protect the resource areas with staked straw wattles, and the staked straw wattle erosion control barrier is going to stay in place until the site is stabilized with loam, seed, and clean straw. Tonight we are seeking a negative determination. I can open the floor for questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I know this lot, I went down and looked at it. Okay, the wetlands are accurately represented on the plans, there's no problem there. As far as the distance from the septic system to the wetland, he's greater than 50 feet. It's mild grading, I don't think there'll be an issue. As far as the riverfront goes, it's a septic upgrade, and he's out of the inner riparian zone, so he's in between that 100 and 200 foot zone. Because it's an upgrade within that 100 to 200 foot zone, it's exempt from the provisions of the Rivers Protection Act, so that doesn't apply in this case. So you don't have to worry about any riverfront considerations on that. So my recommendation would be for a negative number 3 determination, which would be working in the buffer zone, but there'll be no impact to the wetland. If anything, considering what's on there now, it would be a benefit, actually. It'd be an improvement.
Okay. Any questions from any of the board members? Are there any abutters? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:20. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we issue a negative number 3 for a 4-day road.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't you wish all your meetings were that short?
Yes.
Write it down here.
I mean, they did a nice job locating it. I think it was a tough site to get a permit.
Okay, next on the agenda is amended order of conditions for 75 Schofield Ave. I saw you come in with a book, or leave with a book.
Yeah, those are my books. Don't let me forget them. My name is Jeff Faulkner, engineer at Ty and Bond, representing the Water Department. Also with me is Mary Grover, environmental scientist from Ty and Bond. The purpose of this amended order is a little bit of background for you. The Water Department in 2019 was in front of you to drill a new well at their 75 Schofield Avenue site.
Yep.
This is referred to as pump station number 3. That well that is existing there suffered some damage over use. So they replaced that well with well number 7. The drilling of that well number 7 was what the original order of conditions represented. A previous amended order was granted in 2020 for connecting that well to the existing building. The well is about 50 feet outside of the building. Last year, the Department of Environmental Protection issued new regulations for a contaminant called PFAS. And that well has tested positive for PFAS above the regulatory limit. So this request in front of you today is an amended order of conditions to do a temporary treatment system for PFAS at that site. There is a permanent plan in play or in production, but that will take about 2 years to come to fruition. So this temporary treatment is to construct a pressure vessel outside on the building, about 12 feet in diameter and 26 feet tall, and connect that to the existing piping, and then connect it back to the existing piping after treatment so that it could be treated for PFAS. And then it's also brought to the New Boston Road site for further blending so that the public does not receive high PFAS water. So that's the general introduction to the project. I'll turn it over to Mary to talk about some of the wetlands issues.
Yeah, so this site, there is a bordering vegetated wetland on the northeast side, and Potash Brook flows along the site too. So there's 200-foot riverfront area that extends out to the site, and also the 100-foot buffer zone and the 25-foot wetland protection setback under the local bylaw. There's also bordering land subject to flooding that's located at the toe of the slope of where the well is. And so, as Jeff mentioned, this was previously issued an order of conditions, and it then was issued an amended order of conditions last year. The amended order of conditions allowed for comp flood storage for some of the work that has taken place. The work was completed. The comp flood storage has not been completed yet. So for this project, there will also be some fill in the bordering land subject to flooding. So the plan is to, within the same vicinity of where the previously permitted comp flood storage is going to take place, there would just be an additional amount of volume removed in that area. So that would be the plan going forward. And so we're asking for an amended order of conditions, and I think that pretty much sums it up. But we can answer any questions.
So are you applying for just to put the temporary plant up, for lack of a different word? Or are you going for the permanent?
This would just be for the temporary. The permanent solution is to build a treatment plant at the Well 6 site on New Boston Road. So there won't be, other than the decommissioning of this temporary treatment system, there won't be future work at this site.
Going to do away with this site in the future with the
No, it's a
7?
brand new well they just put in.
What do you have to say, Matt?
So
Well, wait for George.
this pump station, is it just going to be blending the water, or is it going to be removing the PFAS?
So the pump station, the existing pump station, right now, there is a water main that blends the pump station number 3 water with the pump station number 6 water. That's currently in place and is keeping the PFAS numbers down. But the water department is restricted on the amount of flow they can currently use. So this proposed project is temporary treatment, so it will remove the PFAS so that they can turn up the volume of water.
But you're gonna end up shutting down number 7.
7 will stay online, yep. 7 is the well
You're
that will be
building this all
treated.
for number 7.
Say again?
You're building this all for well number 7?
The building will be at Station 6, but it will treat all the wells in town at the 6th site.
Are there anybody who has any questions?
How much more, storage you doing?
So it's, sorry, the additional area, square foot wise, of disturbance is about 400 square feet. If you look at, I don't know if you have a copy of the application, there's a table.
No, I've looked at it, I just don't have it in front of me, so I'm just
Okay.
asking you to refresh the numbers. So essentially, you're adding about 400 square feet
Of impacts
of
within.
impacts, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing the compensatory in the same area that you've got it proposed now.
Yeah, except
You got
greater
the
volume.
expansion to it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't recall, was any of this new work within the 25-foot zone?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that would need granting of a waiver on the amendment. I don't have a problem granting an amendment, it's a temporary facility. Once they get approval for their main treatment facility, this would be pulled out. And it's, I'm assuming there's a consent order here or something from DEP?
Not a physical consent order, but they are strongly watching the town do this PFAS project.
Yeah, I mean, even when they say they strongly watch, they're probably drafting a consent decree, so. This is necessary, because of the new regulations. I don't have a problem with what they're proposing out here myself. You're just gonna have to grant a waiver from your no-touch zone. It does take a while for them to get permanent approvals for a main treatment facility, so it's necessary to put this up now because they're gonna need the time to be able to plan for a treatment facility at well 6, so.
Yeah, the schedule for this project would be for the temporary vessel to get on site around December and last about 2 years before the permanent treatment plant is designed, permitted, and constructed.
Okay, just to remind you, I know you know this already, but just to make it clear out loud, an amended order applying to this work does not change the date of expiration of your original order. So you need to be mindful of that date. And if required, if you need to, ask for an extension permit.
Okay.
So just be mindful of that date. Other than that, I mean, your choices are limited and, you know, I mean, DEP's got you over a barrel as far as the regulations go, so you gotta do what you gotta do.
Is this what you wanted? The storage?
Yeah, that's the page. Thank
I
you.
think that's it.
Yep, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep.
So if you guys do approve the amendment in the motion, you should approve a waiver from the 25-foot no-touch zone because of the public health benefit.
One point of information, we notified the abutters via regular mail. So if you would like, we can notify them via certified mail. And if you'd like to continue the hearing until next meeting, we would be amenable to that.
So you didn't do, yeah, you're gonna have to.
Okay, yeah, we gotta continue the meeting. Can you ask for a continuation so I can,
We'd like to ask for that continuation.
somebody would like to make a motion to continue the meeting to,
I'll make a motion that we continue the meeting for 75 Schofield Ave.
motion's been made and seconded to continue the meeting for 75 Schofield Ave. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
I believe we allow the option for certificate of mail too, so.
Yep.
You can do certificate of mail,
Okay.
as long as you can produce that white slip. So. Same thing, just doesn't need signatures.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, before we take Center Road, because that could take a while, my suggestion is just, you've got stuff that's gonna take a few minutes.
Yep.
You wanna go through the rest of that agenda first?
Continuation.
That's all right. I have their names. No, it's okay.
Glenn,
Good catch, Glenn.
Glenn, I'm gonna hit a couple of the other quick ones first.
Yeah, that way, if anybody's waiting for extra business, I don't wanna keep them waiting.
Continuation of Noble Street notice of intent.
Is that for the continuation of the crossing?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because are we waiting for a DEP number? Is that what we're waiting for still?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Because I know he's frothing at the gills to get going, and I've already told planning that he needs the new order conditions first, so. You know,
All right.
Tony's aware of that, so.
So, someone want to make a motion to continue the meeting to our next meeting?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we continue Noble Street notice of intent for the next meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just want to make sure, because I've had a few issues on Noble Street, want to make sure this is the correct.
Certificate of compliance, two of them for Old Southbridge Road.
Recommendation is to vote for complete certification.
Okay. Our wetland consultant says everything's a go. Someone like to make a motion?
What'd you say, Jim? You made a motion?
Everything's a go. I make a motion that we have a certificate of compliance for 30 Old Southbridge Road,
Two of them. Second.
two of them.
Motion's been made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This one.
I got-
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented for
I do have one change. that I
change,
noticed.
okay.
Did you notice what I was pointing
No,
out?
I don't have the minutes with me. I only have
Okay,
the
on
agenda.
5 Noble Street, you have the continuation, but the gentleman you have representing is the same guy for Sunrise Shores.
He was here the last meeting, and he said that he wanted to continue it, so I put that he was gonna continue it.
Okay, but you put
It was the same guy.
representing 11 Sunrise Shores. You want to cross
Oh,
out
okay,
representing.
okay. I put that
Just
he
goes
was,
in there.
okay,
That's all.
okay, yeah, I'll fix that.
Two signatures.
Actually, they look really good. You should see some of the minutes I've written, maybe like Jigsaw.
I've been through like previous ones to see like how people do them, and I was
Supposed to be?
yeah.
I was thinking there was, but I could be wrong.
Let me see one.
Yeah, see, this is, I tend to overwrite. Like, I start making a transcript. You sit there.
See, I like write it out and then I watch it, like I click through it, so then I pick up like stuff and make it long but not too long, so.
Because I'll be typing along, misspelling at a fast and furious rate.
Yeah,
Everything's the
go
same.
back and fix
Original
it.
orders.
Yeah. I just can't even find it
Okay. Glenn, you're up.
now. Did you want to accept the minutes
With the correction.
with the correction of number 5?
I'm not even gonna go, but the
Yeah,
minute,
it's a motion.
That's a motion. Second it,
to accept the minutes from,
As amended, yeah.
as amended.
as amended for the June 23rd, 2021 meeting. Motion been made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm gonna recuse myself for the next item.
Okay.
Chairman, is it possible there's some way we could, the audience could see the plan here from the board? Is there a way that the audience could see the plan that Mr. Crosky's gonna show?
There's two of them.
On the screen, on the bubble or whatever?
Sir.
One for you. There's a spare one. I don't know what you want to lay it on the table.
Yeah, I can put it out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's a ledger also, in case somebody else wants.
If you want to come up, you can check out the plan.
Yeah, they can have it.
I don't know how else to do it.
All right,
Well, if it was on the screen, maybe, seeing as you're looking at the screen, but maybe the screen at some point could show the audience. 'Cause
I
that's
don't
normally
think-
how
I don't think it'll be that
the
close.
They can see it on TV.
Yeah, oh, that's just for TV,
you
not
can't put it
here.
up on the screen behind you? No?
I'm all,
Maybe, but I don't know how.
they're ready.
The tech guy, ask the tech guy over there.
He's trying to put it on now.
It's on the one behind you.
Oh, okay, good, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental. Mr. Bernucci is not here because we only saw, and it's my office's fault, I suppose, that we didn't get a notice that we know of. We found it online as we looked through our different lists of towns that we have to be in front of each day. Like last night was 5:30 to 11. We just filmed. So I just informed him he wasn't available. He will be, if you do continue this, he will be at the next meeting. So this began on an enforcement order of 4/1/20. 14 months ago. So Mr. Renucci came in and filled in wetlands, built a bridge, and constructed a barn to the rear of the property, and then eventually he constructed a barn to the front, more recently. I became involved last summer. We were flagging it. We were augering the soil at the location of the fill, which is green on this plan. You can see the roadway. I constructed a cart road to gain access to the rear also. And we'll be asking for a continuance, as I said earlier, from this meeting if you grant it. And we'll also be asking for a
We
site
still
inspection.
don't have a DEP number, correct? I didn't see one come through.
No, there isn't one yet, but we're waiting, but we don't expect to close this clearly tonight.
Well, no, but even if you did, that we couldn't without the DEP number, so.
Oh, you can close hearings without a DEP number, you just can't issue an order, is the regulation.
Yeah, well,
actually.
what
And I
they-
understand most boards will not
Right.
close a hearing without it, but the law is, and a lot of commissions say, we can't close a meeting without a DEP number. That's incorrect. You can close a hearing without it. Not that we're expecting it here, but the law, it just says you can't
Oh,
issue
no, I
an
don't
order
disagree
without. I'm
with you
just
at all.
making a point, you can't issue an order without the DEP number. So lastly, we have this fill. We flagged the wetlands using soils, vegetation, hydrology, the blue line. If I pull this a little bit closer, if you didn't mind, just so.
You take your
So
glasses.
the blue line starts at the property line. This is the newer bond. There's the older bond. Here's the roadway. Again, we delineated along to the crossing. Just this weekend, we delineated this line. There's all soil borings. You can see on the plan, that's those lower corner. This has all been soiled borings. There's a flow path in here in non-hydric soils. Then this becomes a wetland that extends up into the field. Last summer when we were doing the soils, he didn't know what the sticks in a hole with a 10YR46, 10YR43, which is the hue value chroma of hydric or non-hydric soils, meant. And he was gonna be growing his marijuana crop, which I didn't know anything about, which isn't actually marijuana, it's called industrial marijuana or hemp, which is used for, I guess, the oil. So I got involved, I started flagging the wetlands. The next time I went to the site, there was a crop growing, and I pulled out of the site. Because he didn't tell me what was going on. Maybe he didn't have to, but so we went to Galvin's office to look up, see if somebody was, if he had a permit to grow marijuana, which he didn't. Come to find out through the whole thing, it's an agricultural crop because it's a hemp, which is not THC, but the oil. And so we came back to the site. So there was a long hiatus between me being on the site and me finally finding that the site was legitimate to go and flag, because I wasn't gonna get my company in trouble. So that's what occurred when this field was loaded with plants later, and he had taken out my soil boring flags. I'm not picking on him, he didn't know what it was all about. There's no excuse for anybody, not even for me, but he didn't know what the sticks with orange ribbons with soil descriptions meant, because that's me flagging hydric, non-hydric boundaries, and then eventually putting my blue flags in between the wetland soils on one side and the upland soils on the other side, and eventually Mr. Morrow would come out. I'd take it and review the wetland line, seeing hydric and non-hydric on either side of the boundary. So that kind of delayed me more, because now I lost all my soil borings that were in the field, because part of that field is a wetland up in this area, at the very top of it. So now yes, and it's been dragging on for 14 months. We did bring existing grades in to pick up the existing conditions. The red lines, except for this one, this is now done. These 2 red lines have to be completed. I'll be working on the site on Sunday again, hoping to complete those red lines, and then have the surveyor come right back in, finish picking up the delineation, come up with the exact square footage of fill, at least exact according to what I'm doing, and then eventually you people and your agent will look at it, and propose a replication. We are asking to use the 1055 4B1 through 7 clause, which means that we're filling less than, right now, we're around 1,000 square feet of fill. If it turns out to be 2,000 with once it's all delineated, it still would be under the 5,000 square foot that you're allowed to ask to alter. The commission, and so we're gonna be utilizing that clause as a request to ask to alter, to keep the cart road where it is. That's the commission's option to accept that or not. We will replicate the wetlands. It's pretty easy to see it. The area right here just rises up about 1.5 feet above the wetland elevation, so it's an easy area to auger a little bit deeper, and I'm into hydric soils, but hydric soils have to be within 12 inches of the surface of the A horizon, which this is all A horizon. There's no O horizon, which is the organic horizon. If there was an organic horizon, you have to start from the bottom of that and 12 inches down, and that's the state law for hydric soil. So that's what I'm doing, looking at hydric and non-hydric soil within 12 inches of the soil surface. That's what's described in the lower right corner. We would eventually, again, as I stated a minute ago, replicate the wetlands. The work in the field, this upper part of the field, that'll be that falls under new agriculture, as far as I'm concerned, unless he produces slips to you that show that this has been a continuous farm since prior to regulation, 83. And I just went through this in Ware on the Fisher Dick Road farm, was farm. So there might have to be a pullback out of that field potentially, or under new agriculture, there is an allowance for up to 5,000 square feet of alteration under new agriculture also. So the work in the field is going to be under 5,000 square feet. But that's another discretion of the board. We will show on the plan where the wood line begins and then the field above it and the hydric soils within that field. So that's what we're proposing. There might be, of course, there might be questions. I just want to make sure that I did email this certificate of mailing over to the board. If you don't have it in your file, I have it, and we can send it again.
Yeah, if you could send it to conservation@dudleyma.gov.
We will, but I'm pretty sure my office already did, because every time we get these, we immediately send them in so that it doesn't become a question at the meeting whether or not we did the certificate of mailing. But we will send, I'll check with my office to make sure they did, but that's the standard with us so that we don't run into a problem here. The stream in the back we did run stream stat on the brook all the way in the back. It comes up, and we put it in the application. It's 0.0097%. And all that means to you is that, which it might mean to you, is stream stats required under 1058, 310 CMR 10.58, which is the river regulation, and it tells you, run USGS stream stat, it's a computer program, and verify whether or not the stream that you have on your property, and that was 12/20/02 when that regulation came in. That was a revision to the 1990, the 6 river flood. So we ran stream stat, and it falls it just falls under it, but the law says if you have to be at .01 at a 99 percentile, there's two figures in here that says perennial, we're at .0097. So we don't create the program. This is the program that the state and the wetland regulation says to view. And under the program, we're not perennial. We ran the program, in fact, we show it on you below, 200 feet below the property, because if we turn perennial within 200, then we would come into the site with a 200-foot riverfront area. So we're not saying clearly just down gradient somewhere, but we didn't keep running it down because once we ran 200 feet off the property boundary and we didn't come up to the .01, then we weren't perennial. So it's not uncommon that you can have flow. I have one in Amherst, I have one in Charlton, I have one in Auburn, and one in, those are the three off the top, that all don't make stream stat, but have trout in them. And now these are the ones I just mentioned, were all trout brooks, but they don't fall under the law as far as riverfront, because they don't meet the model. So there's a problem with the model. We've talked to USGS in Texas over this and that. We can't change what the model is. That's what's referenced in the wetland regulation. So we ran the model. I did see 3 trout back there early this spring. And this weekend, when I left the site, I went down to Yummy's and at that corner and went towards Beano, and I caught a trout 7.5 inch at that concrete little dam there. So there's brookies in there. I told the state about it years ago, and I'm happy that Mr. Wheelock moved the dam up down gradient this, and that allows now the trout to get all the way up here.
So you're trying to get that stream put on the cold water fisheries?
It is on the cold
It
water.
is on the cold water.
It is.
fisheries.
When I saw the 3, it hadn't been just a year or 2 ago, but I've been telling the state about it because over the years I've seen the trout at that 4-way intersection. And then so I've been feeding them that. I've fed them 13 brooks so far in my time. And anyways, they did shock it. And
So they did finally add it to the cold water fisheries.
It's on your cold water fishery list now. It's in there. If you go to Oliver, you're gonna see it on Oliver.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to know.
It is good, because that way now you're protecting it for stormwater, 0.5, 0.1 instead of, 1 inch instead of 0.5. As far as commercial stormwater or even residential 4 lots or greater. So we're happy that it's there, as you know, because that's what I study, trout fisheries.
Stormwater standards increase when you have a cold water fishery.
Yeah,
That
so
is the
so
discharge
even
target of a
Nichols
stormwater.
College would now follow into anything in that whole drainage pattern coming down for stormwater, if they do something new. Our job is to complete this thing and show you a complete plan. We know that the neighbors are anxious to see the complete plan. There was one other thing recently, Mr. Morrow did call me on this just a week or 2 ago, a couple of weeks ago. There was mulch that came in that he put at the corner of the field, and we measured it off. Where he showed me he put it, and I'm not saying he was accurate, he put it up, he put it right in here. In fact, it's next to this trailer. And I had him put a wattle below it. Originally, I thought he put it up near here, and that's 113 from the wetland. But when I got to the site on Saturday or Sunday, what did I do? It's Sunday. The mulch pile is sitting right here, and it is for 3 triaxles loads, 3 loads. When I saw it on Sunday, I didn't look to be a lot to me, but of course it's material, and it's and so this is just to let you know where it is. It's a 1-inch 40 plan, and I can tell you how close it is. And it's not 100 feet away. It's 60 feet away because it's at the corner of this trailer. And we will, the surveyors will pick that up also. There's a water line staked in right below it. It's black organic soil, and he's going to use it in the field. I told him, don't do anything within 100 feet. Don't do anything. And it should have been, if he needed it, because he got a deal on it, put it 100, make sure you're 100 feet away at a minimum, just to keep problems away from us, because I don't need to solve any more problems. because that's 1/3 of my work. So that's the project. We will wrap this up for delineation. I'm leaving for Catalina next Wednesday to dive, and this thing will be done on my end for flagging, and the surveyor will have it to pick it up on that 1 week I'm gone. So we plan on giving you the plan. I'll be back on the 7th and giving you the plan sometime right around that time with the completed delineation, the full wetland loss, the replication, and I'll be asking, and I'll send an email to the conscom.
Is that our next meeting, is the
And to
7th?
Mr. Morrow, and ask for a site inspection at your convenience.
That's our next meeting, the 7th?
The next meeting is the 14th.
14th, okay.
If Mr. Zachary Gless can get the plan done by the 7th, I know everybody wants it 7 days, most 7 days prior to any meeting, but my job, and I'll tell Mr. Gless, the surveyor, I'd like the plan in my hand on the 7th, so you can have it 7 days prior. And maybe we can set a site inspection up at your convenience.
I was gonna say, I would like one.
What's that, Mr. Morrow?
I was gonna say, I would like one.
Yes. I'll send it to you, of course.
Yep, you know, when do you get back from your diving
7th.
trip? The 7th? All right, I'll be actually on vacation that week,
Yeah,
so maybe we can make a time after I get back,
thank you.
which will be that weekend, and we can go before the next meeting.
Perfect. We would appreciate it to move this along and try to, and I
Well,
don't
what I
use the
wanna
word
see
try
is-
too often, but in this case, because it's a problem, try to get this thing resolved sooner than the problem that we've had for 14 months.
Well, I need to go over the last of the flagging with you, but I also want to go over the replication area, the proposed
Yes,
replication area.
Of course.
I also want to go over, does he have did he do a conservation plan with NRCS?
I don't know, but I have a pen, and I will write that down and ask him if he went to NRCS to do, he did, in fact, he did tell me that he's now under agriculture. That is a point. Let me get the paperwork from him, because he said, no, I'm a farm. Now, whether you get the agricultural, thank you, because we had to do that at Fisherdick, but that's been a few years, so thank you for reminding me. A conservation plan.
Yeah.
It's a conservation plan, a full document we had to fill out up there, so you have it there, conservation plan. I'll get the plan from him, and we'll add that into the file as another exhibit for the notice.
Well, I mean, you've got erodible soils here, you've got sensitive wetlands, which you're attenuating some of it with the replication. If he's going to grow a crop and do farming activity, the NOI obviously is for the conversion of the wetland that he's filling, which is allowable under law, but it has to be properly permitted and attenuated, which is what I'm gonna go examine. The other thing is, it's highly, he needs to have a conservation plan with the federal government, the NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service. So they would examine his operation and basically show him how to contain erosion, keep nutrients on site, not impact his neighbors, and do everything within farming standards to keep the farm both viable and environmentally sound. So a federal agent would come out on site and evaluate the operation.
One other thing, if I could, there has been no erosion to down gradient wetlands on this property. Because the field itself, there's a channel on the side of it that the farmer might have dug years ago, and then it just dissipates. That this field, there's no direct runoff that I've found coming through this field and then entering into this wetland system right below the field, if that's the top of the field up there. And down here, there's a flow path. There's nothing that's come off site in here, and I'm sure we'll look at that, Matt. And then down gradient here, we're gonna find nothing as far as fines and sediments in there. So
Okay.
I've been observing that since last year. That
Now, as far as pre-existing farming operations go, he'd have to produce some paperwork to convince me of that, because, I mean, I go by that field, I go by that area all the time before he bought it.
Yeah.
And the area's been fallow for way more than 5 years.
I'm not-
So this is, the notice of intent is for a conversion to agriculture, not a continuation of, which is why he'd need the feds to have the conservation plan.
It was never a farm, I've lived there my whole life.
Okay, first of all.
Robert's Rules of
First,
Order.
you'll have your chance.
All right, well, I don't know, just go with what.
And I'm in agreement with you, by the way.
It's a lie and illegal.
It's have one question. One name I want to give you at NRCS is Bob Purcell,
Yes, sir?
Purcell.
Yes, sir.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I know the
I work
name.
with him a lot. I'm in agriculture. We
I
farm
see.
in town here, so very good guy, very hands-on. When does harvest happen for all this? I'm not.
I don't know if he's even growing this year. I saw that last year, but what I saw in the fields this year, I didn't see it. And I was just there Sunday. If I missed it, I mean, I wasn't up in the fields, but I was looking, because last year it was all crops and it was rows and it was pretty obvious at this time of the year. In fact, that's why he said he pulled the sticks out. It was growing season. I had to pull the sticks out to get the thing growing, or what he was growing. So I'm not sure what he's doing as far, but that, he'll have to answer all that. I'll get the agricultural plan.
Depending on harvested, I mean, one thing we farm about 250 acres in town of Dudley. So a living cover crop, something they ought to be having to plant some sort of living cover crop after harvest.
Up in the front, there is something, I see rows and there's teepee, the teepee rows and plants in it, but I didn't look like marijuana is pretty obvious.
Soil all the time is what we try to do, so.
I know the name Purcell because Purcell in Oxford there's Tom Purcell, there's Jim Purcell, and when I just saw that Purcell name, I believe out of Holden.
He's kind of NRCS.
Yeah, out of
he's
Holden.
the guy
I
that's
work
hands-on.
with the Holden people. I just got some aerial flyovers from, what was it, 92 or something, recent stuff. It was for a junkyard to prove that it used to be cars there anyways. So, but I appreciate that, Mr. Purcell, telling me to talk to Mr. Purcell.
You contact NRCS, he's the guy.
Local guy.
Yep.
Okay, see, those are the types of things I'd be looking for in that plan.
Right.
What is his operational plan? When's he
I
gonna
think
harvest?
I'd
How's he
harvest, probably
Laid
no-till,
out.
no-till drill, some sort of cover into that ground, so.
Rotation, crop, whatever it's doing.
Yeah.
I thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions from any of the board members? Are there any abutters that would like to speak?
I'm not in a part of this property, not within 100 feet. I do abut the land trust, which contains the wetlands.
Mr. Canty, could you please come up here and state your name?
Kenneth Canty, 30 Center Road. Hey, you better go up. Question,
It's just for the recording purposes, so you can be heard in the mic.
the enforcement order went into effect April 2020, is that right?
4-1.
4/1/20.
Yep.
And how did that come to the attention of the commission? And when?
I don't have that answer.
I was given a call from the office. Carol said, go check it out. I checked it out. There was a problem. I issued an enforcement order.
Okay, and when you went to the site, what did you observe?
I observed alteration of wetland, which is what
What,
he's here
in
for.
fact, specifically did you
Oh,
observe?
wait, okay.
No,
I'm the one that issued the enforcement order.
right.
I witnessed alteration of wetland, required the filing of the notice of intent, had him hire consultants. That's
In
about
plain
it.
English, what did you observe physically?
I feel like I'm being interrogated at this point.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
so in English, what I observed.
You're the agent for the town, sir.
Yep. I realize that. In English, what I observed was what I just said. Alteration of wetlands without a permit, which I issued an enforcement order and asked for a cease and desist
What were
order.
those alterations?
Filling and grading within a bordering vegetated wetland.
And did you include any structures that were built on the property?
At that point, there were no structures built on the property.
And so were there structures built thereafter?
Yeah, there were structures built
How
thereafter.
many times have you been to the site?
I don't have an exact number.
Can you estimate it, please?
Probably about 10,
Okay, and when was the last time you were there?
2 weeks ago.
Okay, you were made aware a week ago that there was some fill being brought in, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you go and observe the fill as a result of that complaint?
No, I wasn't able to.
Why not?
I was home sick.
Okay, and you've been sick consistently for a week thereafter?
I just got over a case of anaplasmosis.
So that's a yes?
Yeah, that's a yes.
Okay. Now, besides the fill, you observe no other violations?
Work within the buffer zone. It's-
And did you observe any refuse in the wetland area?
No,
Did you observe any mattresses or things of that nature that might have been left there, deposited there?
no.
Because there's some, and a butter has indicated that there were mattresses that were placed there by the homeowner, which would be a violation, is that right?
That would be a violation.
What's that?
That would be a violation, yep.
And what you observed as an alteration, was that within 20 yards of the wetland?
Yes.
Okay, and is that property subject to conservation restrictions?
Well, it's subject to the Wetland Protection Act and the local bylaw.
So would that have been a violation of chapter 270, section 16 of the Massachusetts General Laws, in your opinion?
270, section
Yes.
16 of the MGL?
MGL.
He mentioned conservation restriction, he might be referencing conservation restriction language.
Yeah, there's no
Well,
conservation
it's not-
restriction on
There's no
that.
CR on that property.
And regarding a DEP number, what is the purpose of getting it?
When a notice of intent is filed,
Okay,
a copy goes to DEP for their review.
okay.
So any of the materials that he submitted to us go to DEP for a review. So DEP is examining those materials now, and then they will issue a file number with any comments that they have on the plan.
So they don't see it until the notice of intent's been filed?
That's correct. They
And-
know the activity's going on here because they get a copy of the enforcement order.
And for Mr. Kravosky, when did you place the flags delineating the wetland area?
Go through the chairman, please, Robert's Rules of Order. Don't ask me directly anything. Please
Through
go
the
through the
chair.
chairman.
When did when did the Mr. Kravosky place the flags delineating the wetland area?
Thank you, Chairman. We placed flags last year and this year.
Last year when?
Last year and this year.
So you don't know?
No.
You
I
take
don't have
notes?
No, I don't have my log notes in front of me.
You came prepared for this hearing?
I'm prepared to talk the way that I already discussed
Okay.
it. Thank you.
So you placed those flags for what purpose? Through the chair.
To delineate wetland boundaries.
And is there supposed to be any work conducted after you've placed those flags in place?
There was supposed to be no work prior to me placing the flags.
Okay.
That's why there's an enforcement order there, Mr.
So is
King.
that supposed to, through the chair, give notice to the homeowner not to conduct any work down there?
Through the chairman, the notice was already given, and he did violate the order. So he had an enforcement order. For whatever reason, some clients don't understand what those things mean, however you want to say don't understand. And so he did do additional work. We're here to rectify all the work that he did out there. And luckily, no other wetlands downgrading have been degraded from the work that he did do. So when we're done with this enforcement order, we will have an educated owner of property, and we will restore the wetlands according to all the other 56 projects that I'm running right now, Mr. Cantor.
And did he remove the flags, sir?
Through the chairman, he removed some soil flags, but not wetland flags. That's different. Soil flags describe hydric and non-hydric soils, and I auger a site first, especially if it's been altered, because I can't go by vegetation, so I have to look at the soils. That's 9 years of UNH of soils. So the point, we do soils, especially in fields where there's no grass. In some fields can be partly wetland if you have hydric soils within 12 inches. So we did auger soils. He did not understand apparently why those orange flags, blue flags are the wetland flags, and the orange flags are the soil boring flags with soil description. So he did take out some of my soil boring flags in the field, but not the ones that are in the woodland area, because I auger also in the woodland area.
Okay, and through the chair, did you have a conversation with him regarding removal of those flags?
Yes, I did. I asked him why, and he said he didn't understand because my flags, I use oak stakes 1 inch by 1 inch, 4 feet high for wetland flags. For soil flags, which I might do, I just finished a horse farm with 115 soil borings in Sutton. So I don't always use oak stakes because they cost a couple bucks, and I use generally a stick. If there's branches around and they're 3 or 4 feet long, I'll put a stick in my hole, and that's what somebody once called it. Glenn, you put a stick in the hole? Yeah, I put a stick in the hole, and I tie an orange ribbon on there, and to me, that's what the surveyor picks up, and it's not wasting money on oak stakes. So when he saw sticks in the field, he didn't think it was meant anything, because he has zero knowledge of this reg. And if he did have knowledge, then I don't know about it. But it appears to me, as having been in this field since '86, that he had zero knowledge, and he knows a lot more now. And so he took out some of my orange flags on sticks in the field to grow his crop. And that was another reason why I was kind of put back and walked away for a while. But in the end, a guy's in trouble, and I'm here to get people out of trouble. So that's why I did continue on the job once I found out there wasn't a problem with him and his crop as far as legally marijuana. It wasn't marijuana. So I got back to the job, and it's been dragging. But again, no other wetlands downgraded have been altered, and these type of things are this is a small violation compared to some of my big ones. So this thing can be restored, and that's what we're working to, hopefully through the commission and through the agent, to restore the wetlands and get a legitimate permit.
So were you aware that preliminary injunction had been entered by the housing court regarding failure to comply with a cease and desist order?
I was about a month and a half or 2 months ago, his attorney called me and said that this thing was going to court, and part of it I thought had to do with building structures that he didn't get a building permit on. And so I did have a couple conversations and emails with the building, with the attorney, and I also found that, Glenn, you gotta get the thing done because now it's in court. So I decided, I got going on it more also.
Okay, and were you aware that he didn't comply with the preliminary injunction and a contempt action had to be brought in the housing court where he was found in contempt?
No, I'm not privy to that.
Okay, well, it's on the record, and I have a copy of it for
You
your
can
review.
send a
sir.
copy to me, and that's fine.
And that's for the board to understand why the abutters have some concerns about this man's failure to comply with anything. And regarding the stream, that you say it's not a
Intermittent.
perennial?
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Stream
go ahead.
stat, well, you can have any, through the chair. The, any abutter, on my abutter notification, can have anything they want. I did the plans, everything up to date, and within this notice of intent, I think there might be 9 exhibits in this one, 8, the 8th exhibit is stream stat.
Bless you.
And this, bless you, this stream stat, yes, confirms that it's intermittent by the law.
And through the chair for the town's consultant, did you verify that, sir?
No, I haven't seen the stream stats data
Will you
yet.
verify that?
Yeah, actually, that was in my notes to verify.
It's been there as long as I've been alive.
Through the chair.
Point
We're not-
taken.
We're not saying the stream isn't
Point
there.
taken.
The stream starts at the golf course. I worked for Nichols at one point, and I think Mr. Wheelock for a little something going on. But I've been on that stream. I also did stream stat for UMass, not stream stat, but acid rain monitoring on that stream. But I've been with that program out of UMass since '82. And I also, so at the headwaters, I did do acid rain monitoring, went to, for Dr. Paul Godfrey. So I've been at the very headwater. The headwater is at the, where the maintenance building is for the golf course, is the very headwaters of the stream that runs eventually down through the ball field, football area, and then downgrade in Smith Hall, which used to be there. So we're familiar with the very drainage divide at the top. And I've been involved because it has a troll brook at the bottom, and working with the state over the years to say, let's get it assessed. And thank you for that.
All right, through the chair, did you say you observed mulch that was deposited within the last 2 weeks there on the property?
No, he said
The black, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Was it fill and mulch?
No, just mulch, that organic black, there's photographs floating around. I took photographs myself, but I think, Matt, I thought I received from you that organic material, and I called them immediately because you said your phone was ringing off the hook. So I called the kid, everybody's a kid to me. I called the kid right up, Mr. Minucci, and he explained, and I says, what are you doing, what is it? And I says, you got a deal, it's good mulch, it's for the field, I got a half price, whatever. I says, well, you can't just do that, because if it's within 100 feet, then it's another violation. But I observed it, I walked up to it, I held it, I looked at it, it's organic mulch. It's not, but you can call mulch fill. I mean, mulch can be a fill too, if it's all, when it rots totally and it's 80% organic by weight, that still can be called fill.
And where was that deposit relative to the wetlands?
Next to the trailer.
He stated that it was about 60 feet away.
So was that in violation?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
If you call mulch a violation, I think that it becomes a fine agricultural mulch. I mean, if it was boulders and rocks and dirt, I might, whatever. There's a distinction, I think, if you're running agriculture, that mulch that you're using in the field, whether that's routine maintenance of running, using a product in your fields. And I did notice that he had it used some because it's very dark and on those rows of agricultural crop. So that's all I can say about that.
And I also talked to Mr. Ranucci that evening, and because he called me to verify, his visit with Mr. Kravosky, and I instructed him at that time, stay out of the buffer zone with any fill material. You can't go in there. You have a hearing coming up. You need to be in compliance. Stop.
So
Get into compliance.
it being 60 feet away, he's not in compliance.
That's correct.
Through the chair, we immediately told him when he first got on the phone and after Mr. Morrow to put the erosion control directly downgrade it, and not just put it, the 9-inch wattle, but also stake it in so that nothing, so that at least it would prevent movement through that next 60 feet down towards the well.
Okay, that's all the questions I have, and I just urge the commission to take a view.
Yes.
All right, that's all I have. Maybe some of the butters want to.
Are there any other butters who'd like to talk?
I don't think it's a bad idea. You guys want to do a site inspection when I go with him? You guys want to come with me? Wouldn't be a bad idea,
Yep.
Hello,
especially if you're.
Please state your name for the record.
Donna Reedy. I live at 54 Center Road, and I've lived there for 60 years, between there and the house that they bought. And that property has never been a farmland, ever. Just saying. And everything he does is illegal. He knew he didn't own that property. He made that cart road. He builds things out in the back. He does the farm, the little thing over by Lenny's house. He burns all kinds of stuff. I'm on the phone with the cops constantly. His animals, his pigs, his cows are in my property, digging up stuff. They're in the neighbors. They're by Lenny's pool. It's just ridiculous. You guys don't even know what's going on. And he's a liar. Let me tell you, he knew he was doing everything illegal. You know what he said? I don't care. Let him try to get me to stop. Take all this hemp that he wasn't supposed to be putting in that building, in the field right there where he's got his little crops. He had it all hanging in there. And they were trailer trucks late at night when he came to get them out after they told him he was supposed to get them out. And he lied and said, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. No, he says he ain't getting them out right when the police came right to the door. Trust me, I can hear everything. I'm right up on the level. I hear everything. And it's pitiful that this town does not do something about him. If I did any of this and grew and built something, built a shed, holy shit, the whole town would be like going nuts. You drive by and somebody would come, oh, you got a permit for this? Did you get a permit for this? He burns fires. Let me tell you, I'm going to be burning a fire. Let him come and get me. Where was it when he was burning whole bunches of shit? Pot going up? I can get stoned on my goddamn porch deck. I've even had the cops come to watch the shit that goes on. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. But it's gotten way out of control. He does what he wants, comes and goes, does whatever, builds whatever, and that's okay. Let me try to do something like that, or anybody on our street.
This is the Conservation Commission.
I
We're
know,
only-
but I'm just saying, he did it, he built that stupid cart road over land he did not own. It wasn't his, till after he built it, we told him it wasn't his land, so he went and purchased it. Yeah. I end my story, I'm done. I shouldn't have got up, but you know what, I'm sick of it.
Mr. Chair, I agree with the assertion. I don't think it's ever been a farm. I've been going by there for years and I've never seen it cropped.
I was wondering, it has a wooden fence around it, correct?
Yeah. There was
Cornfield many years ago.
It was
Not-
cornfield.
Did you get a permit for that? I'm sure he didn't.
Can I,
Yeah.
through the chairman, one last thing.
It's
I
been
was
fallow
brought
for
in
a
there
lot
when it was
longer than 5
cornfields.
years.
Now, I'm not saying it's a farm or not, but it was a crop there because Rick Parrott called me in to flag the wetlands at the toe of the slope 20 years ago or so. I actually delineated that lower wetland quite a long time ago. You know, Parrott Land Surveying, he's out of business now.
Sure.
But that was on the market years ago, and like
But
I've
Glenn-
done everything. But it was at least just corn. I'm not. If he didn't sell the corn, then it wasn't an agricultural crop. There was corn there. That's why there's open fields there.
We grew it as kids and sold it at the end of our stand to buy clothes to go to school. Just saying.
But just to say, a
Todd-
crop was
Todd
being
Moran from Connecticut grew corn silage there. Todd Moran, Fair Home Farm, Connecticut, grew corn silage there probably more than a decade ago.
Yeah. It was a long time ago I was there.
Right, but it's been fallow for a lot longer than
I-
5 years,
More-
so
I'd say
it would
10
call, it
10
would,
years.
yeah,
Or
absolutely.
more than 10 years.
But it would, that's why that's why I had you file for the conversion, because it's been fallow for a long period of time. Hasn't grown anything.
I told Mr. Ranucci that unless you produce slips, we went through this on, not just the one over in Ware. You have to, back the 90 acres that was just done by Advantage Tree Service on Ladd Road off of 49. He couldn't produce the slips because he was claiming that this portion it was a pig farm earlier on, Ladd Road off of 49 in Sturbridge. But unless you can produce the slips to prove that you had a saleable product, then you haven't proven it. It has to be a sellable product per year, if you're aware of that. So that's all. I'm just saying that there was something growing there, whether or not if it was, and it was a long time ago, fine. I'm not saying that it's a new agriculture. I told him if he thought it was, then you're gonna produce those slips. This just came up in
Couldn't it
Sturbridge.
just be hay?
That's all. For sale,
Couldn't it
a
just be
sellable
hay?
product.
That's best.
Okay.
Just one question for the clerk of the commission regarding notice. When was it published and where? Do you have a return on that?
Legal ad?
Yeah. Through the chair.
Oh, thank you, sir. Do I have a slip? We give, the legal ad was produced through the Conservation Commission.
That's what I'm asking.
You have to talk to Jen,
Yeah,
if Jen
I'd
did
have to
it.
talk to
Yeah.
Jen.
Yeah.
We, through the chair, 95% of the towns that we work with, they produce their own legal ad. We get it, sometimes we get it to look at them and we say, yeah, that's all written right. But only a few towns require us, East Brookfield is one right now, us to actually create and produce our own legal ad. We just found that out because they had no clerk. But it's very uncommon that we, the applicant, create the legal ad.
That's just for purposes of the validity of the hearing today.
Yeah, that it
That's
was
what the
legally
proper notice
advertised.
was given. All right, so that needs to be produced.
We'll make
Yeah,
a note
Joe,
of it too.
you should check with Jen to see if there was the legal ad produced,
Right, yeah,
because
I will.
she normally would have done that when she
Yeah.
received the filing.
Yeah. I'll talk to her either tonight or tomorrow.
Are there any other butter? Mr. Wheelock?
I just have a question for the board. You know, when I was on the board, we used to, every time there was a notice of intent, all the abutters used to get a certified letter. And, you know, when they came in, they had to, you know, provide the green cards and the letter. Is that changed, or is that, because
Actually, yes, Paul, that's changed.
all right, just.
A certain number of years ago, the state changed it to what's called a certificate of mail. So Mr. Kowalski would fill out all the abutter slips. He would put everything in the envelopes and address them, and then fill out, Glenn, do you have it with you? Okay. Can I go over that?
Why does it say,
That's not with,
See?
I see this, no, but I want to see Lenny, where's the letter?
he's looking for the abutter notification letter,
Okay.
which is in here. There's a copy of it.
But I got this from Mr. Kravosky, And it says right up here, this form must be completed, a copy sent by certified mail. Certificate of mailing and hand delivered to all the butters within 100 feet of location of the project. What does that mean?
Certificate of mailing.
Certificate of mailing, can I see that?
Yep.
Okay.
This is.
So this is a certificate of mailing.
Right, okay.
So what happened, he
On the
put
front.
all the abutter notices out and addressed them, filled out this slip, and what he does is he brings the abutter notifications to the post office. You have to go physically to the post office. The post office clerk then takes each letter and matches the address on the slip, sends it out to be mailed, stamps this, and that's it. There's no green cards involved.
Oh, that's, so, but just,
There was a change in law.
okay.
It's,
Just checking.
yeah, no, it's a procedure that people are just starting to get familiar with, so.
Just to be a very little clear on that reason why this happened. If you sent people were requiring us to give the green card, so we'd always be coming in with the green card. If the green card, if there happened to be in a butter in Singapore, I'm just making a point, I don't care if it was in Kansas, sometimes those green cards didn't get back to us. That would hold the whole hearing up. The law then finally just said, look, prove that you just sent the mail to these people. And in fact, most recently, the DP challenge actually straightened out, I hate to say the word straightened out, but the conservation agent from Spencer, because he came out of Franklin and said, no, I talked to an ALJ, a judicial law judge, and he said, no, under the Act, it still only says, the Act says certified mail hand delivery. The regulation says certificate of mailing, hand delivery, or certified mail.
Correct.
Kim Roth ended up a DEP circuit rider, just straightened out Spencer because she said, no, the regulation trumps the Act. The regulation clears up or more clearly defines what's in the Act. The Act is small, the regulation expands on it.
Right.
She goes, we go by the regulation, and he thought no, I'm gonna go by the Act. He was straightened out. In fact, he was just kicked out for pedophile. I don't wanna bring all the bad news up, but Spencer's agent was just fired in one day. I had to throw that in tonight, because he was such a bugger. He was just kicked out about a month ago, in one day.
All right. Are there any other abutters that wish to speak? All right.
I filled that out.
I'm not in a butter, but I am a resident. My name's Liza Moran. I live on Partridge Hill Road. And I just have one question for the committee, and forgive me for not being conversant about your authorities. Seems like this person is a bad actor, just from listening to all the stories here. Do you guys have the authority to hold him accountable for the bad actions? And if not, who does?
Only in the zone of delineation, as a conservation.
Our enforcement authority is civil.
Okay.
So the way you handle the civil enforcement is what we're doing here now. And sometimes that takes a little bit more time than we would like, especially if you have somebody that's resistant to the orders or essentially just keeps going. To elevate it to a criminal charge is extremely difficult and would take even longer than getting the result we have him coming in here
It's
now.
a high bar, you're saying?
It's a very high bar.
Okay. But, I mean, assuming that the guy is just, uninformed, seems very, very generous, given his, his history. So I just wondered if in addition to correcting the mistakes that have been made on the property, isn't there any other way to send a clearer message to other people who might be thinking about doing the same thing, or, holding
I'm pretty sure if the
the,
judge saw a pattern, that the judge would probably issue a higher fine or remedy.
in this instance, you mean?
Right.
Yeah. I just,
Right, and I mean, I have been part of the civil proceedings, basically providing technical background information for the attorney for the building inspector's case, because the fact that there was noncompliance in wetland and a continued noncompliance was made part of that as well.
okay, so there is action being taken.
There's
It's
some
not
action,
not
but
this group's
the
purview?
building inspector has more power to bring something to court than we do as
Okay.
far as an actual, criminal action. We'd have to do something more of a civil, go to superior court type of deal. For example, I'll give you an example. I'll try to be real brief. Say, and this is not out of the realm of possibility, because as Mr. Kravosky knows, he's been given a set of directives from this commission. We're going to do a site inspection. We're going to do A, B, C. And if he's awarded a permit, if we give him a permit, the permit's gonna be based on our enforcement action. So it's gonna require remediation, it's gonna require him to have a solid conservation farming plan so that he doesn't do things like apparently bury mattresses or whatever on that property. And if he doesn't comply with those orders, we start fining. Now, for me to issue a fine, I have to actually physically write out a ticket and send it to him. And I have to write out a ticket for a certain amount. We're only allowed to do a certain amount every day. Now, I went through this in another community I worked for, and by the time we were done fining, by the time this guy decided to come into compliance, the fines totaled $11,000, okay? He blew them off. So we file, every time we issue a ticket, we have to send a copy to the clerk magistrate. So if I issue a ticket here, a copy of the ticket goes to the clerk magistrate at Dudley District, okay? After a certain amount of time, like 21 days, we start sending out demand letters. If the demand letters then aren't answered, we then send the notice to the clerk saying this guy's basically blowing us off. Then we have to go and attend a hearing where the clerk magistrate would bring that person in and say, you need to pay these fines. Now, if the person disobeys the clerk magistrate's order, the clerk magistrate can then take it to the DA to recommend to elevate it to criminal. But speaking from experience, to elevate it to criminal, a lot of judges won't do it. So what we wind up doing then in that case, what we wound up doing in the other case, was we turned around and we took it and we put a lis pendens on the property. When we got the lis pendens on the property, he again kind of ignored it. We wound up getting a default judgment for a lot of money. And then when he needed to develop the property, the default judgment showed, and the default judgment showed we were able to collect on the debt. That whole process took 2.5 years.
Right, right. So you answered my other question, which is that you're responsible for enforcement.
But I just wanted to let you know
Yeah.
what type of a bar it is to actually
Sure.
get something criminal. And a lot of the DAs tell us, you can go to court, but the judge is he's just gonna look at it and go, yeah, okay, fine, I'm not gonna bring it up to criminal. Because they're more interested in the hardcore crimes, drug dealing,
Sure.
assault and batteries, and other things I don't need to describe.
Okay, thank you.
One last thing, if I could, through the chair. We want to show, we're attempting to show cooperation. I know it's been a long process, but we're this far along, and this thing is, I would say it's 80% there as far as completion of the plan. So we want to get in front of you, complete the plan, remediate this, get it cleared up. And I'm constantly educating this excuse me, my client. As I said, I called Bob a kid once before. So I'm just, within this month, within the time that I finish this weekend and before I leave, I will get the thing finished delineation. It will be in the hands, to reiterate, of the surveyor and work to get, and I'll make it a priority with him, because I give him a lot of work, to get this picked up so that we can come back when I get back in, and after Matt comes back in, and we'll get the site inspection and continue to work and get it completed.
Okay, so
Have you heard on that, on Mr. Merrill's last comments? Chapter 131, Section 40 says, tail end of that statute, no person shall remove, fill, dredge, or alter or any area subject to protection under this section without the required authorization or cause, suffer or allow such activity, or leave in place unauthorized fill, or otherwise fail to restore illegally altered land to its original condition, or fail to comply with an enforcement order which has been issued in this case pursuant to this section. Each day such violation continues shall constitute a separate offense, except that any person who fails to remove unauthorized fill or otherwise fails to restore the legally altered land to its original condition after giving written notification of said violation to the Conservation Commission, and the department shall not be subject to additional penalties unless said person thereafter fails to comply with an enforcement order or order of conditions. Whoever violates any provision of this section shall be punished by a fine of not more than $25,000 or by imprisonment for not more than 2 years, or both such fine and imprisonment, or B, shall be subject to a civil penalty not to exceed $25,000 for each violation. So, you issue a citation to the man each day for that he continues to violate the statute. Is that right? You have the power to do that. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right, and then on that citation, it has a listing that says if it's not paid within 21 days, I believe, is that
We
correct?
can send a demand letter out after
Right.
21 days.
Right, and then you shall be subject to a hearing before the clerk
magistrate.
right? And at that hearing, you can ask that it be heard criminally, is that correct?
That's correct.
And at that hearing, the standard is probable cause to determine whether the crime has been committed, all the elements are there, and a complaint can issue. The clerk magistrate makes that determination as to whether a complaint issues. Is that correct?
The clerk magistrate would make a recommendation to the DA.
Clerk magistrate makes a finding of probable cause. Is that right?
That's correct.
And therefore, the complaint issues once probable cause is found. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. That issues the complaint.
Okay, but the section of regulation that you read with the $25,000 a day or imprisonment applies to DEP. I can't fine anybody $25,000 a day. Let me finish, please. My home rule only allows me to go up to a certain amount. I think in town here it's $300 a day.
Yes.
I've lived this, and I've lived
So
it
do I.
on. Yep, and I've lived it under wetlands, okay, and I've lived it under applying bylaws, home rule, criminal. I know what goes on here, and you are right. And what you read was technically correct. It's DEP that has the power to do more. So if DEP gets involved and we do a referral, which is coming close.
I just want the commission to be clear on what the standard is. I'm not here in any official capacity whatsoever or as an attorney. But I just want the commission to understand what the law is. I know in my capacity, in my professional business, what this is. I deal with these areas.
Thank you.
My name is Len Wheelock, 42 Center Road. I was going to say that mulch that he brought in, right? Then after that, he brought in 2 loads of gravel, sand.
I'm not aware of it. so-
You know, you're aware of it, that he brought in 2. You're not aware of it?
No.
Okay, one of the trucks got stuck there, and one of you guys had to come pull him out. You're not aware of that?
Nope.
Okay. I got pictures of it. I got a big tow truck. I got a big tow truck coming in to pull him out, so he must have got stuck in some wetlands right where he dumped the sand.
There is, through the chairman, there is gravel on the road, the cart road to that trailer. There's gravel there, but that's not a wetland. And so if that gravel wasn't there before, because I did not, there's some gravel right here. I did observe it. Where's that trailer? Right here. Right here, there's gravel. It's a gravel base, like a gravel driveway. But the wetland is downgrading of it, so that, and it's within the gravel way. So I took it that was gravel that had been there. If the truck got stuck, he got stuck in the upland through thick, maybe movie soil, but that's not a wetland, there's no hydric soil there.
Buddy, can you show them the plan
Oh,
This is, here's the road, and here's, this house would be,
where did he dump
the mulch is right here. Yeah, so this is gravel in here. I did notice there being gravel in there, leveled out.
Right next, no, so this wasn't level, it's 2 piles.
I don't, when I went there Sunday, there was no piles. I'm just saying, Sunday, there wasn't any piles that I noted. This Sunday that passed?
Yeah, there's 2 piles.
I-
Right next to,
I-
right next to the mulch.
I noticed them out. I
How many-
apologize.
Let me see if I,
How many piles of, did you observe that was there?
2. He brought one, and then the second one he got stuck in.
Oh.
And then one of the Ramco's trucks had to come and pull him out, but then he couldn't pull him out, then he had to get a big tow truck to come in. And another thing, let me see if I got.
We are gonna make a big site inspection, and we can't wait to see all this material, but, that's all I can say about that. But Glenn Kowalski, on everything he does, If I say I didn't see it, I did not see it, because all we do is this work to be, and all I am.
See, he wants to see it.
Sure, sure, let me see.
Yeah,
I see it, I see him. What'd you say? Bank gravel like or some, that would
Looks like
appear.
gravel, doesn't it?
Yeah, like what I saw on the cart road as part of, he maybe leveled it by that time, because it
No,
all
it's-
looked like cart road to me.
I'm not gonna argue about it. It's
Well, I'm just saying, I noticed the cart road gravel, that's all I can say about that. The access road over to that trailer is coarse gravel.
When was this?
Last week one day.
This, could I ask the chairman, the same time as the loom,
No, I mean,
when that mulch went in?
the mulch was came like 3-4 times.
Was
Different days.
the same period of time though, that,
Yeah.
maybe he leveled it, he's got a tractor, he's probably leveled it by that time.
Not leveled.
Well, I'm going home. I'll swing over that way.
Yeah, well, I'll see
You
it.
don't have a problem if we,
We all wanna know everything, and
yep.
We'll get out there.
And one other thing too, he made a big pile of debris, of sticks and stones that he took from his field, and he pushed them all into the corner. You saw that, did you see that, in the corner by,
what corner?
the corner by the mulch? Is that corner?
When I went, maybe I'm blind. When I went there, I drove here, I drove down this road, I parked here, and I flagged that line. That's what I did. I saw the piles, I took a picture from over here, and I said, geez, I thought you told me, in my mind, that he said that he was up here. So we measured on our plan where I believe, I said, near the barn. I says, what corner of the barn? The northern corner. So I says, gee, but and then we, on our computer, we said, well, if it's there, then it's that far away. When I got there, I can say that it wasn't here, it was here. So that's why, initially, I think, I might have said through my email, Matthew, that appears, if I didn't, then this is what I thought, that it was 100 feet away. My office looked at it, it was 100 and something feet. I said, you're just barely over 100. Don't do any more. When I did get there and flagged this piece here, I noted that the pile was here at the trailer, and then I said, he's not 100 feet away.
I thought I saw a message from you that said it was 64 and you were putting the erosion protection up.
No, I always thought, we thought that it was more than 100, because my kid, he does CAD, and so we just quickly, I didn't even note that barn. I thought this, and if we measure from, in fact, he said it's next to flag 7A, is what he ended up saying. And there's 7E, I mean, there's 7, and he said it was directly up gradient. Well, up gradient meant nothing to me
But there's-
at that point.
there's
It's
ero-
65 feet away.
There's erosion control all the way around there.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
And it was 7E that he told me, because he was out there
All
with
right.
his work. I says, you
And
call me
you're
up and
gonna
tell
have-
me where you are.
You're gonna have everything done by the 7th, you said, right? Or hopefully by the 7th.
I'm gonna have it flagged by the end of this weekend, finished up, and then it's gonna go in the hands of the surveyor. I'm leaving Wednesday, and the surveyor will have till the 7th. I'm gonna tell him that I need it by the 7th. I still can't, like, put a noose around, don't even say that stuff. I can't, I
Wrong
can't
word.
choke him, but I'm gonna work, Jesus Christ. I'm gonna work to have him get it done before the 7th. And not, but he's a different company, but
we had
that's
him
gonna
add
be
more
my
to the
charge to
plans.
him.
Okay.
Because we need more.
So you'll get a hold of him, because I want to be there when you do the site
I
visit.
want the whole
Yeah.
board to be there too, thank you.
All right.
Keep in mind, guys, if it's a site visit, we can only ask questions to gather information. There can't be any deliberation.
no decision.
There can't be any voting, nothing like that. You can legally go to the site visit, though.
All right.
George, can I just ask one more question? quickly?
No. Yes.
No.
He just likes saying the word no.
I don't know if I mentioned
I
my
had my
name last
grandkids
time.
over the weekend.
Paul Wheelock, 28 Center Road. Previously, you said that when there's an enforcement order, DEP gets notice of that enforcement order. And I'd just like to know that from when the enforcement order was, and DEP was notified, have there been any correspondence between either you, Mr. Morrow, or this board, or any involvement with this case?
There was phone calls. I did speak to the now former section chief about this case. And one of the things she wanted was elements of our enforcement order incorporated into an order of conditions once we issued one. And if the order of conditions wasn't obeyed, they would then think about intervening.
Okay, I just wanted to make it.
Problem
on the
they
record
have
that-
was, we were in the middle of the pandemic last year,
Yep.
and their standards, as far as being away from everything and everybody, were a lot more stringent than even the people, normal public that were locked down. I couldn't even go with them. I think it wasn't until like last August or September before they'd even let me go with them on a site inspection. And then I had to stay 6 feet away
I
from
just
them.
want to know if DEP has been involved in this case.
No, they know.
Okay, thank you, that's all I wanted to know.
Yep.
What's the name of that person?
Denise Child. She's no longer with the organization. She just retired. Her replacement's name is Judith Schmitz. Judith Schmitz. Yep.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Fred Sherpick. I live on Folly Road, and I just have a question for the board. Maybe I'm misinterpreting something here, but it seems like this is being done to bring him up to snuff so he can get a permit? Is that correct? Wow, is that correct?
It's to bring them within code.
Shouldn't
We have to bring him into
this permit
compliance.
been taken out before all of this? Isn't that how it's
Exactly.
supposed to work?
Exactly.
That's how
It's
it's
for
supposed
the
to work.
people of the town, so the town know that they can probably do this too, and then get a permit.
Well,
That's what it sounds like to me.
It's not quite that simple. This is very.
This is what it sounds like to me.
It does look that way on the surface, I grant you.
On the
So I
surface.
can understand the expression. Let me finish. So I had just explained to Mr. Wheelock that when I spoke to DEP and I agreed, we were going to take elements of the enforcement order and draft it into the order of conditions. So it's going to be based on an enforcement action. They'll be given milestones to me for him to remediate the site, bring it back into compliance, clean it up, make sure the wetlands standards are met. If he fails to obey those, the state will intervene.
What about seeing he failed to obey those in the beginning? He is not granted a permit.
He's already paid a fine.
But I'm saying his permit
He's been
should be
issued a fine.
denied because he's gone ahead and done it before the permit process. He does everything before the permit process, and then he faces the consequences. What I'm saying is you as a board know what's going on here, mostly. You see what happened, permit should be denied, period. Or else everyone in town can do what he is doing. Do what they please, and then get a permit. End of conversation.
One last point. This is out of the Worcester County Central Region, this is a minor violation from what I've been involved with. 1/3 or a quarter of my clients are people that get in violation and I get a phone call to get them out. This is not the biggest violation in the world. It is in your town, maybe it's a violation, but I'm dealing with one. This is the last thing I'll say. The railroad went on, this is Providence, Worcester, went in with a track excavator, 8.5 foot tracks we measured, went on a 310 acre property that I'm working on right now, with a 282,000 square foot proposed building, and they ripped out colonial dams that were 4 feet high, made out of stone and earth, and ripped them up and threw them in the wetland. Major site off of 395 you can't see. And DEP said to the Conservation Commission said, this is Oxford, DEP, please take it over, it's the railroad. DEP said, you handle it first. And this is going on right now. In fact, we just set up another site inspection where they finally admitted after the chief, whatever you call the top railroad guy, he had a big dude anyway. No, I didn't know nothing about it. Well, finally, Judy Lochner, who's the agent in Oxford, went further and finally got to people above her and they admitted it. So we're talking about probably $70,000, $80,000 restoration. And that ain't even been, he took out 2 dams, went through wetlands, threw it all in. So this is, and DP didn't want to touch it until the conservation had it. That's a major violation. It drained 2 major wetlands. That's all I'll say.
Glenn, I think the issue isn't so much the size of the violation.
Yeah.
It's the fact that
He kept going on.
He keeps going, and he keeps going, and it's like the little Energizer Bunny of violations.
And people feel he doesn't listen to anything. I
And
understand.
everybody here is frustrated with that.
Yes, sir.
Ourselves included.
Okay.
And it's nothing on you
It
because,
is on me partly because I'm part of the problem. I initially did not continue working on the site because I didn't.
No, we
because he
understand
didn't
that.
make it clear to me that he had something legal going, and I wanted to walk away because I was over my head. This is the busiest year going on. This is the last of
Can I
talking.
ask one question?
All right.
Has this come in front of any other boards, or is it just conservation right now?
In front of the building inspector.
Bill, yeah.
I just have one last thing to say. Mr. Kowalski, this may not be a big deal or a big violation to you, but for the rest of the neighborhood, this is a big violation.
Okay.
And when I grew up.
Mr. Candy?
When I grew up, we're all responsible for our own actions, not him.
Why have rules if they're not followed?
I agree.
I agree.
Someone make a motion that we continue this hearing
I'm
till,
requesting a continuance, as the applicant's representative, I'll request a continuance because it'll go over to Monday as possible.
so
Yeah,
it's
you
the
have to
14th,
request a
correct?
I normally would, I'll request a continuance.
To July 14th.
To July 14th.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Someone make a motion, please.
I make a motion that we continue this meeting to July 14th.
6:30.
At
6:30.
6:30.
Is it 6:30 or 6 o'clock? You guys can.
We usually start at
6.
6.
6. Then
At
6
6 o'clock, July 14th for 52 Center Road.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So guys, just so you know,
Motion
we're gonna
carries.
reconvene on July 14th at 6:30 here again.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Good seeing you. Thank you, sir.
Hope you get paid, hope you get paid in advance.
Sorry, we don't blame you.
All
I
right,
know.
someone want to make a motion to adjourn? Excuse me, we're still in the meeting here?
I know the district courthouse.
Conservation, I'm doing the hearing.
Yeah, you know the solar field at the back of the courthouse?
Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we close the meeting.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, my goodness.